Do you want to know 7 reasons why Canelo versus Amir Khan should not happen next? If so, stay tuned to this video. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I just got back home, Bay Area, California, West Side, Outlaw, and I was in Las Vegas. Had a great time, and I was covering the Canelo Khan fight. Back, so I should be back. I'm tired as hell. I took a nap earlier, but tired. But I should be getting back to my regular schedule of uploads and just different types of videos. But I did have fun out in Vegas. Had a good time. I want to talk about, as you guys see in the title, what went wrong for Amir Khan in the Amir Khan versus Canelo fight. And to me, some predictions I do, like I'm actually proud of myself for it. Like, yeah, that was a, you know what I mean, this was a 50-50 tough fight, and I'm proud of the outcome. But this, I can't even gloat, I can't even brag about this, because to me, I told you guys from the jump, this fight should not have happened. Again, the full link and the full video will be in the description, but I made a video, guys. February 3rd, 2016. I don't change or falsify, so you can see my opinions then, and you can see what I'm saying now and compare. And I'll actually put some snippets of what I was saying in that video at the end of this particular video. And again, I made a video, 7 reasons Canelo versus Khan should not happen next. Boxing Ego, 64,000 plus views, and I just seen it coming, man. I thought this was a mismatch. I think Oscar De La Hoya, he did his best to try to convince the public that this was an even fight. Like, hey guys, Amir Khan, he's a silver medalist and all this, and why do you think I have a rematch clause? Because Canelo, he's good, but Amir Khan, he has a strong case, like, no, the naked eye, a true boxing fan, could see that this was a mismatch, and that is just what it is. You know what I mean? I don't care really who's mad. I speak from the heart. I'm real, and that's what it is. This was a mismatch. Khan held a good account of himself up until the point where he got like demolished by that overhand right by Canelo, and that's perhaps the reason why it was a mismatch, because I personally had Canelo losing the fight. Like, I thought Amir Khan looked pretty sharp and was winning about 4 of the 6 rounds, and then as soon as Canelo started to close distance in the 5th and 6th round and started landing some bigger shots, it was like the beginning of the end. And that's the problem with a match like this. Not only did they take a welterweight for the middleweight, so Khan's fighting basically a division and a half up, maybe 2 divisions, just because it's technically middleweight, anything over 54 or whatnot. And it was all bad. The makings of this fight, the writings were on the wall for me. You know what I mean? Khan, you have to look at it from a promoter standpoint. Amir Khan is this is what I said in the 7 reasons video. He was desperate for a big payday. He felt he got passed up and looked over by actual welterweights, Floyd Mayweather, guys like Manny Pacquiao, and he wanted that big fight. And I think Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy kind of exploited that. They knew he was hungry. He wanted a big paycheck. He wanted a big fight. He wanted that chance to submit his name in, and like the history book says, like, oh, this, and he took the bait. And I told you guys, the one of the biggest problems is Amir Khan's a good fighter. I know tons of people on this team, but I'm going to be real in this video. The thing with Amir Khan is he has an Achilles heel. A lot of people question his chin and things like that. He's a great fighter, skilled fighter, but there's weight divisions for a reason. Floyd Mayweather is an anomaly. Pacquiao is an anomaly. They were able to do things that the average fighter can't just go up and do. Like Pacquiao, even though it was at a catchweight, Pacquiao going up against a guy who's like 5'11" and Antonio Margarito, granite chin, tough, and breaking his orbital. You know what I mean? Or Floyd Mayweather going up twice to fight De La Hoya and Cotto at the full 54, like first round Hall of Famers. And even Canelo, who's like 10 years plus younger than him, at a catchweight of 152 and doing what he did with Canelo. But there are exceptions to the rule, in my opinion. It's like fighters like that don't come every once in a while. A lot of other guys have tougher times. Like you look at Amir Khan in this fight and look at Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo or whatnot. So it's just different fights. Canelo's a good fighter, Khan's a good fighter, but I knew he was biting off more than he could chew. And I think one of the problems for Team Khan and Amir Khan particularly, I think it's like almost, it's like a denial with Khan to me. And sometimes, I don't know if you ever had a friend that lies and they start to believe their own lie. I think Amir Khan, I don't know about now, but before going into this fight, I think he refused to believe that he had maybe a suspect chin or chin issues. You know what I mean? He did not want to acknowledge the fact that that could be the case, right? He just did not want to accept that. And it's okay if not everyone, no one on here in this fight game is a perfect fighter, meaning every single thing they do is flawless. I've seen Floyd Mayweather get caught with shots. We've seen Pacquiao face down, knocked out. You know what I mean? Nobody's perfect. The greatest of fighters have fallen. Sugar Ray Leonard's and different people, Tyson. But it's you still have to know and own and accept your strengths and most importantly your weaknesses. And I don't think Khan really did that. He was like, people was like, oh, you have a glass chin. And obviously people trying to like dig the knife in and ridicule him. No one's going to be like, yeah, I have a glass chin. I'm not expecting that, but you could tell by what he says, he thought like that. No, that's the furthest from the case. The reason that I was getting hurt, knocked out was because I was struggling to make weight. Yeah, but I never bought that, and some people did. Some people thought, oh, like he had durability issues because he struggled to make weight. But I know fighters. I talked to a ton of people, and I know fighters. And there's other people. Khan is not the first fighter in history that has struggled to make weight. And the fact of the matter is, we've seen Khan hurt, and we've seen him rocked and stuff like that in previous fights. Like, for example, Danny Garcia, he just recently moved up to welterweight. He's on record stating that he was having trouble making the 140 mark after a certain point. But then again, he got hurt in fights, like let's say Peterson or Zab Judah, maybe even the Matisse fight. Let's say he got hurt in any of those fights. He wasn't getting knocked all over the place. He wasn't getting knocked down. Because to me, Danny Garcia has a strong chin. He's pretty tough kid from Philly, right? But Amir Khan, that's not necessarily the case. He's a good boxer, but if you clip him right, he has a trouble accepting the punch and like taking it. Bradis Prescott, and I'm not saying, this is the thing, that like he's going in there with some punchers like Danny Garcia and Bradis Prescott. Yeah, if those guys land right, then they'll hurt most people around their weight. But then there's also guys like Julio Diaz. He fought Julio Diaz at a catch weight and he got floored and knocked down by him. Little things like that to me is a signal that, okay, like I understand, okay, Bradis Prescott, Danny Garcia, powerful guys, they hit you and you go down or whatever. But Julio Diaz, you know what I mean? You look at any other, because that fight was closer to welterweight. I think it was at 143 or 144. He got knocked down by him. Look at Julio Diaz versus Sean Porter. Sean Porter had a tough fight with Julio Diaz, and I believe it was a draw. Then he came back and blasted Julio Diaz. Keith Thurman versus Julio Diaz. But those guys weren't really getting hurt by Julio Diaz. Julio Diaz is pretty much a career lightweight. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he knocked Amir Khan down, that's one of the telltale signs. Also Chris Algieri, coming off a 6 knockdown loss, he started fighting a fight style that's not really his, being aggressive as he was when he fought Khan with John David Jackson, coming off the Pacquiao destruction where he got demolished and knocked down 6 times, and he was able to buckle Khan in the first round. And he's not a known puncher at 140, and he moved to the full 147 for the Khan fight, and he rattled Khan. You know what I'm saying? So I think Khan should have consider some things and like did more at welterweight and just embrace the fact that like, okay, maybe my chin is shaky and this is taking on too much. You're in there with a heavy-handed kid that's younger than you, fast hands, good counter puncher. It just, this to me was uncalled for. Like I said, De La Hoya tried his best to sell it. I just think Khan and team, they got a bit greedy. Like, oh, Khan wanted a big fight, and there were so many options at welterweight, and that's part of what I said in the 7 reasons. Danny Garcia is his mandatory, and I just talked to Mauricio Suleiman, and he told me that he's still in line for the Danny Garcia fight, but coming off a brutal knockout and going in against a guy who already knocked you out, I mean, of course that's going to give Danny Garcia a ton of confidence. He just seen you get stretched, eyes open. I was almost about to say eyes closed, but his eyes were open, and he's, you know what I mean, he got laid out by Canelo. So of course Danny Garcia, knowing he already has a victory over you and coming off of that, I wouldn't advise that for Amir Khan straight away. I wouldn't advise him to go back, even though Danny Garcia has looked kind of suspect versus boxers. He looked kind of suspect in the first 2 rounds of the Khan fight. It's just who has the edge? The guy that already just beat you by knockout, knocked you down 3 times, and just seen you get knocked out by someone else. And then if you go straight away and try to fight him, it's not really a good look. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of, I mean, he could do it. Maybe he could beat Danny Garcia even coming off a brutal knockout. I don't know. But Danny Garcia is still undefeated, has momentum. I thought Garcia looked real good at welterweight. Not necessarily versus Malignaggi. I don't think he looked great, even though he stopped him. But he looked good to me versus Robert Guerrero. He looked composed, patient. His power looked like he's like filling out in the division better. So that's not a fight I would advise for Khan right away. Same thing with Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. That was a big domestic fight in the UK. But I wouldn't advise something like that right away. Yeah, you can make a lot of money, but you have to regroup and you know what I mean, wipe the dirt off your shoulders. So just, it's unfortunate, man, because I was actually pulling for Khan just to bring some justice back into boxing. And he was looking good in there until he got caught. And this is the thing about it. That's why I knew it was a mismatch, because all of that good work went out the window because he got hit with one single shot by a heavy-handed Canelo. So basically, if this was a school assignment, this was a test, Khan had to get 100. He had to get 100%. He had to get all questions right without any mistakes, where Canelo can be missing questions here or there. He could skip questions, and because he has a relationship with the teacher, so to speak, he could, you know what I mean, still get a passing grade. And the relationship with his teacher, part of that analogy, is basically based on his size, his power, and things like that. Is he can afford to make some mistakes and still be able to turn it around, versus Khan didn't have that same advantage. Khan really had to fight the perfect fight. And on top of that, I could go on all day about this. Another thing is, let's say Khan did fight the perfect fight, and arguably he did for the first 4 rounds. You know what I mean? He fought very good. His speed was there. He was causing Canelo to miss wildly and pretty much staying out of the wheelhouse of Canelo, circling, staying out of danger. And the judges still tried to give 2 of the 3 judges, when the fight, the KO happened, it was revealed that 2 of the 3 judges had Canelo winning. So again, it was a bad look for Team Khan as far as I'm concerned, because even though he was looking good before the knockout, they were still going to job him on the scorecards. And you know Canelo's the A side, the favorite, the guy they want to win. It's a golden boy fight. It made no sense to me, because 2 of the 3 judges had Canelo winning. I don't even see how you could do that. I don't see what Canelo did in those first 4 rounds where you would say, hey, that's the winner of these 4 rounds. He started closing distance. I still seen Canelo struggle, to be honest, with cutting off the ring. And he's not necessarily a pressure fighter, but it's easy to switch your dynamic and become something which you're not when the threat is more suitable. Meaning, like Khan, like I said in the 7 reasons, I don't think Khan could hurt Canelo. Guy's never been knocked out or knocked down as a pro, who's been fighting since he was age 15 with the size differential. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's easier for Canelo to turn it on and be like, you know what, let me just go for broke. But can he do that versus Golovkin and make those adjustments? Someone who's about his size, who you're not going to be able to walk through his shots, things like that. So it's a bad look for Team Khan as far as I'm concerned. Another thing is not controlling the rehydration. Like, we don't know what, that's why they didn't do the official fight night weigh-in for either fighter. I don't think Canelo or Khan had a problem weighing in, but they probably didn't want to show how much Canelo weighed on fight night. He looked very thick, very solid, pause. And it wasn't a good look for Khan to take that. I understand daring to be great and taking the risk, but you got to be sensible, because this is the type of knockout loss that could Roy Jones Jr. your career. God forbid, I'm not saying I want that to happen. Like I said, I know a ton of people on Khan's team, met him. He's a cool dude, but you don't know, because psychologically it's everything in boxing, where you're at mentally. And it's a loss that, like, it's an embarrassing loss or whatever. You know what I mean? You're up in the scorecards and you get flattened. So we don't know how he'll recover. Maybe he can do like Pacquiao after the Marquez knockout and bounce back. Maybe he can't. Maybe it'll be like a Roy Jones where he just never looks the same. We don't know, but it wasn't worth the gamble. Yeah, you're getting some money up front, but he could have went on to give very compelling fights to welterweights and not did that. Like I said, just nothing The reason this is a mismatch is there were no real advantages for Amir Khan. You could say speed, but Canelo has fast hands as well, right? And it's nullified a little bit, the speed, when there's not as much power behind it. At least 155 level power for Canelo to respect. If you take maybe the strongest welterweights like the Earl Spence Jr.'s, the Kell Brooks, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter even, you know what I mean, guys that could crack, guys that could sit you down, maybe Canelo would be forced to respect their power moving up a little bit more. But Amir Khan, I've told people this, he has one knockout out of all of his fights. And I'm not talking about TKOs, I'm talking about full knockouts. And that one knockout was to Zab Judah, and arguably Zab Judah quit because he was arguing with the ref. He wasn't like stretched, like iced, like cold, like Canelo did to Amir Khan. So I don't know. I think Amir Khan's power is kind of overstated. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has power, like you can respect him, but it's not like a Keith Thurman power where he's gonna just have you on Queer Street. You know what I mean? We don't really see that. We see it with Keith Thurman and Earl Spence. Like, Earl Spence was hurting Chris Algieri very bad. Keith Thurman stopped Diego Chavez, whose game is fuck, with the body shot. So I think those guys typically have more power at welterweight. Not to mention, you have to move up and carry the power. And Oscar De La Hoya knows what he's doing with the matchmaking. Other thing is Amir Khan was off of a long layoff in a tough fight with Chris Algieri, and he hadn't fought since like May on Spike. And it's just, that's not what you do. You know what I'm saying? Khan should have fought in December, fought another guy similar to, you know what I mean? Like maybe even a Josito Lopez or Robert Guerrero, anything like that, even though those are welterweights, but just to stay busy, keep your muscles fresh, your muscle memory, and get that repetition and get some rounds in against a game tough guy like a Guerrero or Josito Lopez, or even maybe a 54-pounder at a catchweight or something like that. You don't just jump straight away into this. You know what I mean? Look at Floyd. Floyd is arguably TBE, or at least one of the greatest fighters in boxing history, right? And he got out of jail. He didn't immediately fight Canelo. He fought Robert Guerrero, who was his interim challenger or champion or whatever, in May. Then he fought Canelo in September. Makes sense. Amir Khan didn't do that. He had a long layoff, just like, I don't know, just like Kirkland. Kirkland fought Canelo off a long layoff. This is not the guy. It's a champion. This is a good fighter. Canelo's a good fighter. You don't just go straight away with long layoff and go in and face him. You know what I mean? And then Kirkland didn't even have Ann Wolfe, which is really the trainer that most people think he looks best with. So just a lot of clever little intricacies with the matchmaking that I feel like this was an unfair match. So it'll be interesting to see what Team Canelo does next. Will they pursue a guy like Golovkin, who's definitely a threat? He would probably be the favorite against him. I don't really see Canelo against small guys anymore. Josito Lopez, Amir Khan, because as far as I'm concerned, I love watching Canelo fight. I love I like Canelo as a fighter, but I also like the truth more than anything else. And the bottom line is, I can't really give the man much credit for things going the way they're expected. Like, I give Danny Garcia more credit than Canelo versus like an Amir Khan, because that was what's supposed to happen. Danny Garcia stepped into certain fights where he was not favored. He was the challenger versus Eric Morales. He was expected to get knocked out by Lucas Matisse. He was expected to lose to Zab Judah, who was a southpaw, athletic and much faster than him. He was expected to lose to Amir Khan, and he emerged victorious. So I can give credit to those types of performances. You know what I mean? James DeGale versus Andre Durrell. I don't know who the favorite was, but a lot of people didn't even know who DeGale was on this side of the pond, and he emerged as victorious. So Deontay Wilder versus Bermane Stiverne. Those are the types of fights why I got to give a lot of credit, because people said, oh, Wilder has chicken legs. He's chinny. Look at this video of him getting knocked down in the amateurs. And then he went on and beat a champion in Bermane Stiverne. So I give stuff like that credit. Porter Thurman winner, they will get a lot of credit. Those are all great, credible wins. But, I mean, that's like a high school senior picking on an 8th grader. You know what I mean? With the size disparity and stuff like that. So I told you guys in the 7 reasons. I'm not just saying it now. I cannot give Canelo much credit as a middleweight fighting all these small guys, Josito Lopez and Ryan Rhodes and Matthew Hatton. You're not even fighting the better brother, Ricky Hatton. You're fighting Matthew Hatton. You know what I mean? At first you fought Jose Miguel Cotto. You weren't fighting Miguel Cotto back then. So, I mean, he eventually fought him, but you guys get what I'm saying. just got to see Canelo. I like the kid. He's talented, but I mean, you didn't even take the most durable welterweight and you flattened him. There's nothing to really celebrate about. It's actually kind of, I'm not gonna say embarrassing, but it is kind of shocking because you could have really hurt that man, like killed that man. Like we've seen all these situations, Nick Blackwell, these mismatches got to stop because some people aren't fit for this level of competition, or you know what I mean. Like I said, if Amir Khan was a bit more durable and showed that in the past, if he was naturally about Canelo's size, it might be a different topic, it might be a different conversation. But the fact that none of those things were in place, that you could have really hurt that man. We don't know how Khan will bounce back for that. So you might have permanently damaged his career just to build your star. And it's unfortunate what happens like that in boxing. Let me know what you guys think. Stay tuned to the end of this video to hear some of the 7 reasons why I predicted this stuff earlier this year when the fight was first announced. Drop in the comment section. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. A loss to Canelo, which is not a foregone conclusion, but stylistically it's a bad matchup for Khan, in my opinion. And a loss to Canelo Alvarez, to me, will definitely hurt a Kell Brook fight. If he were to lose, especially if it's a bad loss, let's say he gets knocked down a gang of times and gets stopped, that wouldn't be good for Khan's career in general, let alone it's definitely going to lessen a Khan versus Kell Brook fight. I mean, if you see him get pummeled, hypothetically, if you see him get pummeled by Canelo, yeah, he could drop back down, but how worth it is it going to be to see Kell Brook? Namely for Brook, let's say Kell Brook fights him and beats him. People could just easily say, oh, you fought damaged goods Khan that got beat up on by Canelo. You know what I'm saying? So any way you slice it, unless Khan were to win versus Canelo, it makes the Brook fight smaller. Triple G. No, guys. Hey, Max. Triple G has been the mandatory for Canelo's lineal middleweight championship for a while now. He was avoided by guys like Sergio Martinez, and then Martinez lost to Cotto. Cotto took his belts. Cotto didn't look like he wanted to fight Triple G. And Triple G, just when you think we're going to get a mega fight between Canelo and Triple G, they decide to have voluntary defenses. And now Canelo's facing Amir Khan and Triple G is facing Dominique Wade. So it kind of leaves Triple G out of the loop. And the thing is, with this, with Triple G being the mandatory, that's a fun fight for the fans. That's a big, massive fight, Canelo versus Triple G, easily a HBO pay-per-view, and it kind of throws him out of the equation. Plus, I don't think Canelo fighting a guy like Amir Khan, who is not of that division, especially Canelo weight of 155, it doesn't really prove that he's gearing up to face a guy like Triple G. I mean, you're going in against a smaller welterweight. Yeah, he's tall. He has some height to him. But again, is a guy who's never fought above 150 pounds as a professional. So again, this doesn't give me the confidence that after, if Canelo is victorious versus Amir Khan, that he will be facing Gennady Triple G Golovkin. The size differential. This is perhaps the biggest thing. If Amir Khan's a good fighter, if Amir Khan had naturally been a little bit bigger and decided to make this fight, okay, it'd be interesting because Canelo has slow feet, things like that. But the size differential to me seems too massive. We're talking about a guy in Canelo who looked huge next to Cotto. Cotto could not hurt him. And if he did, it wasn't apparent, right? And we're talking about a guy with only 3 fights at welterweight in Amir Khan who's been hurt in lighter divisions by guys his size or smaller. Guys like Danny Garcia, guys like Brettis Prescott. He got floored by Julio Diaz. Now he's going up in weight to 155, and it just seems like so much of a size differential. No tune-up fights. We give Khan a lot of credit for having the cojones to take the fight, but again, I think the size differential just makes this fight make a whole lot less sense as far as I'm concerned. This goes against the Golden Boy pact of the best fighting the best, as far as I'm concerned. Now, Oscar De La Hoya of Golden Boy Promotions, he's made it his business to take jabs at the competition. And it's a business, I get it. McDonald's takes jabs at Burger King and things like that. But if you're going to do that, you have to at least stay true to what you're saying. De La Hoya, he's taking jabs at Al Heyman in his Premier Boxing Champs series, saying they're putting on mismatches. Here at Golden Boy, we're here to have the best fight the best. And you can't honestly tell me that this is the best fighting the best for a lineal middleweight champion in terms of Canelo. Yes, it could be fun for rounds, but stylistically, the matchup wise, clearly is going to favor Canelo. And again, it's a lot has to do with what I just said in my last point, the size differential, right? If Khan was a little bit bigger, maybe had like a iron granite chin or something like that, it'd be a different story. But there's a lot that Khan would have to overcome and have to box a beautiful fight in order to win this fight. And it just his chances, his odds seem to be dwindled down. And I'll get to that a little bit later in this video as well. So, which brings me to the next point. The fight is taking place at Canelo weight. Now, Canelo has had a catch weight ever since the Mayweather fight. And Canelo has been fighting. He fought Angulo, Lara. He fought James Kirkland. He fought Cotto, all at a catch weight of 155. That is 4 fights at this mystical division that he's created of 155. So that being said, since he's pulling a guy up like Amir Khan in weight, Khan, he's only 3 fights, like I said earlier in this video, 3 fights into his welterweight career, right? He got knocked down at a catch weight of 143 versus Julio Diaz, who is pretty much a career lightweight. And with no tune-ups, again, you give credit to Khan for having the guts to challenge himself, but it just seems like this weight, the Canelo weight, does nothing for Khan and only benefits Canelo. And they're fighting for the middleweight titles. So I have a bunch of problems with that. Like I said, it seems like Team Khan or whoever is in charge of this would have at least tried to make it a little bit more balanced where it didn't benefit one guy. You have Khan doing all the traveling. Khan's coming from 147 all the way to 155. Canelo, on the other hand, is comfortable fighting at what he's been fighting at for his last 4 fights of 155. So that's a weight he can make. He's made it his last 4 fights. And he obviously is the bigger guy. And back to the size differential that I said earlier, some people are going to say, oh, but Khan is tall. Khan is taller than Canelo. I get that. But if you know anything about boxing, height doesn't really matter. You got guys like Jeffrey Matabula, who's taller than Amir Khan and Canelo Alvarez. He's 5'11", almost 6 feet tall, and he fights at super bantamweight. You look at Chris Algieri versus Manny Pacquiao. A lot of people said that, oh, but Chris Algieri, he's so much taller than Pacquiao. Tall doesn't matter. It matters what you bring to the table, the stylistic matchup, the skill set, punching power, just different attributes. Chris Algieri was a lot taller than Pacquiao, and you've seen him get demolished, just like I said in my past 7 reasons video, right? So simply being tall is only a small chunk of the pie. So to me, I just don't see how this catch weight of 155 for middleweight titles would benefit Khan at all, because again, he's the only one having to come up and challenge himself. If this fight were to have taken place at 151, 152, 153, even the regular 154, that's at least making Canelo earn it a little bit more and drop that extra pound, which for his large frame might be harder. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure why it was agreed upon from Team Khan to accept this at the full 155. I understand being brave and trying to put on great fights and challenge yourself, but I think they should have done something that was a little bit more fair, where it was balanced, where, you know what I mean, where both fighters had to budge a little bit. Canelo had to drop an extra pound to make the actual division weight of 154 pounds, since Khan is doing all his traveling up. That's just my personal opinion. This fight only works one way. If Canelo beats Amir Khan, to me, it proves nothing. And what I mean by that is this. We'll start off with Amir Khan. If Amir Khan defeats Canelo, he's the man, because he's going into this fight as the underdog. He's the one traveling up in weight. He's the guy who is expected to have the shakier of the chin. Canelo's never been knocked out or knocked down as a professional fighter, right? He came close in the Jose Miguel Cotto fight, but it was an official knockdown, right? So Canelo is clearly the favorite. Amir Khan, who is moving up in weight to challenge himself, is clearly the underdog. That being said, if Amir Khan can somehow prove me wrong, and I'll do a 7 reasons on why I believe Canelo beats Amir Khan, because that is what I believe happened, so stay tuned for that 7 reasons. But if by some way Amir Khan proves me wrong, I'll give him all the credit in the world, and he's a star because he beat Canelo when the odds were stacked against him. But it only works one way, and the reason I say that is because Canelo, it doesn't prove anything. You're fighting another undersized guy. Canelo fought Mayweather, okay, he's undersized, but he's considered the best pound for pound fighter in the world. That's fine. But fights like Josecito Lopez, a career 140 pounder, moved up to fight Victor Ortiz at 147, was losing that fight on the scorecards, and there was a freak accident where Victor Ortiz got his jaw broken, and the fight was stopped. He could no longer continue. So I understand that Victor Ortiz was next in line to face Canelo had Victor Ortiz got past Josecito Lopez, but that made more sense. Even though I would favor Canelo to beat Victor Ortiz even back then, stylistically it was a more even matchup. Like I said, Ortiz was ahead on the scorecards, beating up on Josecito Lopez. Josecito Lopez's face, if you look at the end of the fight, was pretty banged up. Josecito was losing the fight before that random breaking of the jaw. Victor Ortiz, also a guy who's rehydrated past 165 pounds. He's big. He's a big welterweight. He's a southpaw. He's athletic. He has more power. So I understand that Josecito Lopez is the guy that upset Victor Ortiz, but Victor Ortiz seems like it would have been more of a closer fight based on the attributes and the stylistic matchup. And now you're talking about Khan. Yes, Khan has speed. Khan has decent footwork, things like that. But it still doesn't prove anything because Canelo is such a vast favorite and the guy's not even in his division. So this doesn't signify to me that Canelo is capable of beating Triple G. Even if he goes in there and demolishes Khan, knocks him out in one round, that doesn't prove that he can even stand toe-to-toe with the David Lemieux or Curtis Stevens or Danny Jacobs type of middleweight, let alone the best middleweight in the world, which is Gennady Triple G Golovkin. So to me, it only works one way. If Amir Khan wins, he pulls the upset, he gets props, and people will give him a lot of credit for outboxing Canelo because I don't think he can stop him. But if Canelo beats Amir Khan, it's to be expected, and he's not going to get that much credit because Khan's been stopped before, and most people are considering this a mismatch. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.